not much, just a couple of points. Amit Gupta, Senior Vice President, Fund Manager at ICICI Securities PMS, is with us on the show. Amit, afternoon. What from here on? Do you think the markets have sussed out all the good news? Can there be a possibility of any surprise next week post the exit poll verdict? How would you read the markets at these levels?
So, as you know, the market, when the market is spending more time, if you see the earnings, they are also, growing in double digits, which is coming to the benefit of the markets whenever we are seeing any intermediate decline. So if you see recently when the market declined, right, from 20,000, we are back to 20,000, I understand. But when we declined, we were very close to 5-year average price to earning, which was around 19,000. And the 10-year average was close to 18,000. So whenever the market has declined within this 18,000, 19,000, I think it is getting more and more attractive as the market is spending time. So when crude oil goes higher around 90 plus, then we see the earnings are growing by 12-13%. But again, you have seen that despite couple of wars, the crude oil is still around $80 per barrel. And this is where the earnings now are growing by 16-17%. And this is where I think Indian markets are in a very sweet spot. And we have seen that the bond yields also, Indian bond yields have always remained subdued vis-a-vis the US bond yields. You had seen that the US bond yields moved from 3.3% to 5%, but our bond yields remain actually below 7.6, which was the high made in 2022. And afterwards, now we are hearing that from June next year, the JP Morgan bond index will start having including the Indian government bonds. So $23 billion is expected from there. And that is not the only ETF which will have it actually. Then you have Bloomberg, you have Russell, which may also follow this inclusion of government bonds. And this is where I think there are segments which are not performing right now. For example, PSU Banks, they can also come up because they have a larger chunk of government bonds with them. And if the bond prices remain relatively better, I think they are one of the better beneficiary, at least in the treasury profits. And going ahead, when the corporate lending book will grow, as it is growing 6.5%, not the same average credit growth what is projected by the banks in the unsecured lending, etc. So when the corporate book will start growing, then you will see these players will have a much better move. So there are segments which are performing, but there are segments which are sleeping. And I think this consolidation will lead to the move in those segments also.
Okay. So that's the overall view in the market. By the way, a couple of consumer stocks are making a bit of a move now. Consumer stocks haven't done too much in the last several weeks. Britannia, however, 2.5% up. ITC has seen a bit of a spurt in the last 20-25 odd minutes or so. Let's get the intradays if we can on these. ITC, Britannia, Nestle is looking better now. There you go, Britannia pretty much at the high point of the day. There's Asian Paints, which is finding some traction as well at this moment. That's a big move on Nestle. That's just come through. Amit, hi, good afternoon. Amit, how are you placed on FMCG/consumption? We know that volume growth has been, anemic, low single digits. If you're really lucky with a company, then mid-single digits. But, where should these companies be in the portfolio, if at all? What's your prognosis?
So, yes, definitely this sector has been, impacted from the lower income, lower growth from the lower income brackets and also from the rural areas, which is not coming up actually. But if you see now, because elections are coming up, state elections, you may see some money going towards lower the pyramid. I think it is possible some of these players can start coming up. And you need to see something very particular. For example, we have Colgate in our portfolio. So this is stock, which had 60% market share few years before, and it declined to 50% because of the impact of, Ayurvedic toothpaste and all, so Dant Kanti, etc. So we saw that the market share declined initially in this stock to 50%, and then it stopped falling. And I think this is something we really like. That if you have some deterioration in market share, but you are still holding a major chunk of market share in that particular segment, so still 50% is a good market share. And now the crude oil prices are down, so they are not supposed to pass on the cost. And I think this is where even if at this volume growth, because it's a staple, so basic volume growth will continue. And I think this is where the profitability can come up. Premiumization, they are always looking at. And I think this is where actually we started buying the stock in our portfolios. And you are seeing that despite market is in favor of more industrials, etc. But the in the FMCG space, staples, this stock actually has run up from 1900 to now 2200 plus. So I think yes, money flow is moving, as I said, into those areas also which have been underperforming, and I think this is where the beauty of the market there right now as we are moving towards elections.
I mean, everything is moving, isn't it? I mean, I was talking to a friend yesterday. He said that he bought Hero MotoCorp 10 years back at around 3,000 rupee levels. He continued to hold it, and they did nothing for 10 years. And now, of course, it's seen a bit of a move. And he was wondering what to do, and whether this is just a move which will extend, which will make up for the underperformance, or one should take profit. So there are those kind of questions as well. Let me actually pose that to you, so I can pass on that advice. Amit, Hero MotoCorp and Bajaj, etc. What's the sense? We had the Bajaj management, by the way, with us in the morning. Domestic sales are doing well. Is that a sign that the rural side of things is starting to pick up? Spending is starting to pick up. The growth, by the way, is in the 125cc plus segment. Growth there is almost 2 or 3 times that of the sub 100cc segment. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you are right. So we can look at vice versa also, because generally we say when the rural growth is not coming, which is the segment which is going to be impacted worse, and it is the two-wheeler segment. And it was not performing, right? So still we have not got the numbers from the rural segment yet. But you can say as we are moving towards, state elections, these areas, it is possible that there may be some jump in the consumption spending of the rural area also. And clearly you are seeing the two-wheeler sales are coming up. They have definitely there. The numbers are robust. It was not performing at all. And I think, so this is a tactical bet, I would say, because the sustainability of the rural area we have to see. But what really is coming up, I think, is in the auto ancillary space. If you see, for example, Apollo Tyres. So Apollo Tyre has been there in our portfolio now for quite some time in our ACE equity portfolio. And we bought the stock because we like the medium and heavy commercial vehicle, because it is directly linked with the government emphasis on infrastructure, right? And it has 33% market share in the medium and commercial vehicle space. And when the crude prices are down, I think this is something goes positive for the tires. The rubber prices are cheap, and you perform better from the earnings perspective. And I have seen 3 to 4 years of earnings cycle in the tire space. The first year is already there now. So you can expect another 2 to 3 years good actually for the tire companies going forward. This is what our thinking is. And I think these companies like Apollo Tyres, which were the underperformers of the last decade, they are coming up now. And they are really doing good on the European market also, where they have increased their market share. Even at the time of, immediately post-pandemic. So I think such companies are coming up. Valuations are still much better in comparison to peers. And we can look at these companies now going forward.
By the way, it's right. Hero MotoCorp has done absolutely nothing in November. Sorry.
You think my friend was lying?
No, I was just checking the rates. November of 2014, which is more than 9 years back, the stock was at 3,028, which is the same as the level that it was in September of 2023. So 9 years and 2 months, the stock is at the same level. It's only in the last 2 months, thanks to the overall rally, we've seen the stock price move up close to about 20%.
So there are always 2 theories to it. One is the time in the market. You just sit on it long enough. If it's a good, clean company, eventually it will move up. The second theory is, you've wasted 10 years. There could be money made elsewhere. So why debate? I'm not taking any sides on this one.
So, I just want to, Amit, you mentioned Apollo Tyres. Have you looked at a stock called Nosil? Again, it's ancillary, chemicals, etc., which go into, tires, etc. Any thoughts on Nosil, if you've looked at it?
Yeah, so we have not taken in the portfolio yet. But yes, you are right. When the tire, segment is likely to do better, there are other segments also. So one is Nosil, the chemical providers. The another one is the, carbon black. So that segment also performs better. So Philips Carbon, you have seen from the RPG group, that has also performed better recently. And I think going forward, the numbers also are likely to be better. We have heard the companies like Balakrishna Industries, they are also moving into these kind of segments. So you can understand that the companies are moving into some ancillary part of the tire segment. So yes, you are right that when this segment looks better, the promoters actually are expanding more into the other ancillary parts related to it.
No, got it. I mentioned point taken. I mean, PCBL, right? Philips Carbon is what you were talking about. And NOSL, I mentioned because that is another one of those names which has not done anything for the last 6 years or so. I mean, it's done 5% this year. It's very hard to find these kind of names, but NOSL is one. Sort of ancillary to what a theme which Amit was highlighting earlier. Amit, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. Great speaking with you. Appreciate you